Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Harshita and in today's video we have a really special guest. Her name is Shailja and she is All India Rank 6 Clat 2020. She's gonna help share her preparation schedule and what else she did to become All India Rank 6. So without further ado, let's dive into the video and let's invite our guest. Hi Shailja, how are you?
I am good. How are you?
You can hear me, right?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So I want you to introduce yourself for our users.
Hi, I'm Shailja Beria. I'm studying at NUJSI now. I'm a second year law student and I was All India Rank 6 in CLAT 2020.
That's amazing. Like, what did it feel like? I mean, when you got your results, I mean, what was your reaction?
It was insane actually. I was thinking of maybe something around a top 50 rank or something, but definitely not a single digit rank. So
Oh my
yeah,
God.
that
So,
was
like,
easy.
the amount of preparation you did, does it justify your rank? Or did you think that, no, I think I could have done a little more, I could have gotten a better rank?
I don't think so because we had like multiple postponements and everything by the time we gave CLAT. So by the end of it was like, yeah, all the work paid off.
You just wanted to get done with it. Like, too many moments. That's amazing. That's amazing. Um, so let's start with your preparation journey. Like, when did you actually start preparing for CLAT? When did you decide you wanted to give CLAT?
So I decided sometime after class 10, after I was done with my boards and all, and I started coaching in the first half of class 11, which is like after the first term, sort of.
All right. So would you like suggest people to, you can start whenever, like in the beginning of 11, in the middle of 11, or or actually in 12th? Would you suggest that, or would you suggest people start in 11, like at the start of 11?
So I think not everyone finds it very easy to decide in class 11. So that's something that you have to consider because most people would not be ready to start in. So even if you decide a bit later and you are ready to start sometime in the beginning of class 12, what you should do is make sure you figure out your schedule properly. So say you start in class 12 also, till your boards come up, you make sure that you finish your CLAT syllabus as well, and then you start taking mocks. So once you have that schedule, it it helps to start in class 11 because you have the time to finish your syllabus, but it's not like you won't make it if you start in class 12.
All right. So did you feel that you had a bit of a disadvantage because you started in class 11 middle, or was it fine?
No, that was okay. And I think I got more of an advantage later because of the postponement. So even those who had taken a gap and everything, I was able to catch up with those people
Oh yeah.
despite being from a board batch and everything.
Oh yeah, that was good. Okay, so like in class 11 and in class 12, what was your daily schedule like? How many hours did you give for CLAT? And was it like, did you prepare every day, each and every day?
So in class 11, it was very casual. I was just going very slow with the syllabus and everything according to how it was going with my coaching. And in class 12, it used to be about finding the gaps between board preparation and school, and everything used to be
Yeah.
it even if I wasn't studying for CLAT every day or 8 hours a day, at the end of the day, the burden would be the same because it would be everything together. So even those 2 3 hours that you put in every day would add up to everything, and that was the what preparation looked like.
So can we say that your major preparation was during COVID, like during the postponement and everything? Or did you actually give it your full in class 12 as well?
So the thing was that I was done with a lot of things till class 12. Like I was confident about maths, I was confident about a number of sections. So in terms of finishing the syllabus, I didn't have anything left to do before my boards. So then when the postponements and everything happened, then I had time to give more mocks. So that was what I finished till class 12. And in terms of mocks and knowing where you stand competitively, that was everything that came during COVID.
Okay. So, like in class 12, like a lot of people have this question: how do you actually manage boards and CLAT as well? Because in our society, it's really important to score well in both as well, right? So like, how would you suggest people manage that?
So I think if you're willing to let boards be at the back seat, that works. But of course, not many people are able to do that. Even I had this goal that at least you get to a 95% in boards. So, which won't happen unless you study at least a little bit. What I did was whenever I had a school exam coming up in terms of a unit test or a half yearly or whatever, then I let Clat go to the back seat for a while. And whenever that got over, like the couple of weeks after your exams are over, when you don't really feel like doing boards, studying and all, then you have to go back to Clat, because at that gap that you have 2-3 weeks of very chill at in school and everything, if you let that gap go like now's my enjoy time, then you won't be able to manage both the exams.
Okay. So like class 12 is supposed to be really hectic.
Yeah, you have to keep on switching between Clat and boards and Clat and boards, and you can't keep both for the same time, because then what happens is you don't prioritize anything.
Yeah.
So it's like both are in your head and nothing is actually working.
So did you have a particular tip or a trick that, motivated you to not procrastinate or be like, no, I really want to have a little me time for myself? Or did you like, how did you push yourself to go back and forth with Clat and boards?
So one thing is that studying like that doesn't mean you don't have the me time. Your
Yeah.
me time is also scheduled into your day. And for doing the back and forth, you have to realize that boards is something that you're doing for everyone else, and Clat is something you're doing for yourself. So you want to be a law student and you want to study in an NLU. So Clat is something that is, you can't keep thinking of it as in terms of I will disappoint other people, or this is what is expected of me or something. You have to take it like something that you're doing for yourself, and then that comes from within, that to crack this exam that is more important to me, I have to make sure that this stays on top, like I'm on top of it all the time, even if I feel like. So then that becomes part of your me time, the fact that you're preparing for this exam that you have to do for yourself.
It's really important. Okay, so like moving on to the books that you used, like can you categorize the books for GK, maths, reasoning, and English that you used for our users?
Okay, so for GK, now that the Clat pattern and everything is very different, the most important thing is the newspaper. There's no book that can get you at par with a newspaper. So you have to get into the habit of reading the newspaper daily. I would say the Indian Express was the best, because I actually subscribed to the Indian Express during Clat preparation and it still comes. So that was when I first got the Indian Express and it's still coming. And that's the important thing for GK. With that, you make notes, you go to websites like Drishti IAS, and there are a number of sources like IAS websites in particular are very helpful. What you do is you think about the news in terms of what is important, and then you Google and try to find out everything about that and make notes for that.
Okay.
So there's that for GK. For logic, legal, and English, I would say that a lot of it is very similar, because all three sections are now based on reading and comprehending.
Yeah.
So for that, you should probably start somewhere with LSAT, GMAT sources, which basically enhance your ability to reason a lot. And once you are a bit well placed with that, then you go to specific CLAT type questions, which you could find, say, on CL or LE or any past year papers and everything. So that's how you get a sort of question bank, and that's what you work on. So for those things, practice is the best way to work on it. Yeah. So legal, logic, and English more or less functions the same way, because with the pattern changes, it's become more or less the same thing. And legal, there's another thing that you have to do, which is you have to keep in touch with legal news in particular, because the passages will be related to that. So once you're understanding legal news with your GK preparation, it helps your legal preparation. And last, for maths, the best thing to do is whatever book you pick up Iris Agarwal, you take any other maths, these specific CAT type books which you have. So once you have that book, you have to make sure that you've covered all the topics properly, you're clear with the concepts, and then you start seeing how you're doing on mocks. and how which topics you're facing issues with. So once your concepts are clear, then you can move on and you can actually focus on your specific weak areas. But for maths, you have to keep practicing and you have to know where your strengths and weaknesses lie.
Okay, so like when I was giving CLAT, our professors told us that, the 9, 10 maths are totally relevant and okay for you to do the CLAT maths. Is that relevant till, was that relevant for you as well? Did you feel that it was 9, 10 was fine?
Yeah, so the thing is that the way we learn how to do maths in class 9 and 10, the concepts remain the same for CLAT. But the way we approach maths, like we don't use shortcuts, we write everything down, we give statements, we figure it out in our head. You don't have the time to do that for CLAT. So you have to change your whole approach towards math. So the concepts are the same, the topics are the same, but if you approach it the way you did in 9 and 10, then you'll be lagging behind. So you have to find a new way to solve class 9 and 10 maths.
Okay. And also, like, so many people are scared of maths and don't want to attempt the maths section of CLAT because they feel that they'll be wasting time and they might not even score that well. So, do you think that maths is an important section? Like, would you suggest people who are scared of maths actually attempt the maths section in CLAT?
So I think for dealing with maths, especially for people who are scared, you have to confront the fear when you are preparing. But on CLAT day, when you're giving the paper, let it not matter. So you put in every bit of work that you can before CLAT in math. But on CLAT day, know for a fact that the best students and the worst students and everyone who was scared of math and everyone who was a genius at math is going to end up with the same set of answers.
Yeah.
Because especially for our paper, CLAT maths, like our paper's math section particularly, was a mess. And it was complete fluke on who got the questions right and who didn't. So there was a number of, like, it was very different from what we were expecting. And it was very random. Like, there were people who were able to solve it and all, but there were also a lot of people who spent a lot more time on that section than they should have. And then a number of questions got cancelled, like an entire set of questions got cancelled from that math section. So on CLAT day, don't make maths your priority, but till CLAT is there, know that it can make a difference. Like, it can be the make or break, because those 4 or 5 marks that you can get in math is something that either everyone will get or no one will get, or the few students will get who will end up being the toppers.
Oh my god, that's so important. Okay, so like, what do you think is the most important section in a CLAT paper? English or GK? Where, I mean, yeah, what's the most important thing for CLAT?
I think the most important section is the one that you are strongest at, because when you attempt that accurately, it gives you enough confidence to go through the entire paper. So for me, I would always start with English. And once I finished that with confidence in less time, I knew that I could deal with the rest of the paper.
Makes sense.
So then that would change with a person to person. And also, like, you should keep one of your strengths even somewhere in the middle of the paper. When you're sort of losing confidence or something, then you go to something that you enjoy, and that way you can power through the whole paper.
Okay, so that's really important. And so you told us that you solved a lot of mocks and all during the postponements. How important is a mock for a CLAT student, like before preparation, in the preparation stage?
I think mocks are the most important thing. Anyone who cracked CLAT will tell you you cannot make it without giving mocks, because when we are giving mocks and when we are competing with everyone, so you kind of form this community of students who you are constantly competing with. So if you are within the group of people who get say 100 rank in mocks, you know a lot of people who are getting, say, the 90s ranks and everything, and you're constantly competing with them, and that way you keep improving. And so what we had was, like, by the time we gave CLAT, most of us had it within our schedule that at least two mocks a week we have to give. And 2 mocks a week was a lesser number. Like, I know a lot of people who gave 3, 4, 5 mocks every day, maybe. And the idea was that when you are giving a mock, you simulate the entire exam condition. So we used to sit for mocks between 2 and 4 o'clock, because that was when our exam was supposed to be. We used to sit in a room where nobody is going to disturb us, sit with the laptop. When we realized that our clat will be online, then we switched completely to online. Earlier, we thought it would be offline, so we were doing the mocks on OMR sheets. So all those things, once you stimulate, then you get so used to giving clat that on clat day, when you go and give the exam, you don't even feel like you're actually giving what has been the most important exam for the past 2 years.
That's so, yeah. I mean, that makes sense. You need to understand the kind of situation you're gonna be in, and if you prepare for that, then that's a little easier, right? But like, so in my preparation days as well, I used to give mocks, but I used to cut out on, uh, seeing where I went wrong. And most people do that because it's like you just going on that paper again, spending time on the same paper again. But do you say that, but do you think that's important? Like, I know you should go back and check what you did wrong, where you went wrong, but like, did you do that as well? Is that important?
So what I used to do was, like, before I was doing the 2 to 4 o'clock mock thing, I used to give mocks at night. I used to finish my mock and immediately crash. And then the next day, I used to go back to that paper. So that meant I was completely fresh. But at the same time, I didn't have all those preconceptions about this was what I marked, this makes sense, why is this the correct answer?
Yeah.
And then you go through, I think analysis is the most important part of a mock. And we feel very lazy to do it after you've already sat with it for 2 hours. But if you don't do it, then you have to remember those 2 hours went waste. Unless you go back and see where you made mistakes, you'll just keep making the same mistakes over and over till the last day. So what you do is you go back and start. So maybe instead of looking at the whole paper, you look at the part of the paper where you did worst. So for me, it was always legal. Legal was always my worst section. So every time I knew that after giving a mock, I have to look at every single question that I got wrong, at least in legal. Maybe after legal, I just crash and I don't do anything else. But at least that portion I will do, I will read everything, go through it. I'll get convinced by the reasoning that is given in the question. And then I'll be ready to give the next mock. And so what happened was, in Clat, legal was my best section. I got only 2 questions wrong.
Oh, that's so cool. It's amazing.
Yeah.
That like it shows that if you do something properly, then it will actually pay off. And that could have been a rank setter for you, a differentiator that you did
Yeah,
very well in legal.
absolutely. Because legal had like 30 questions. So when you get almost the whole section correct, that's already.
Wow, that's so cool. So you mentioned that you joined a coaching, but there are many people who prefer doing self-study and don't want to actually get enrolled in a coaching. So do you think that self-study is sufficient, or does a coaching set you apart?
I think what a coaching does is it keeps you disciplined. So we had tests every weekend, we had classes all the time, and many people wouldn't even attend the classes, which is okay. But when you're having tests and when someone is constantly checking up, and coaching gave me like this whole community of students that I was constantly supposed to compete with and compare with and make sure I was beating. So that is something that coaching gives you, which is that you constantly feel pressured to be working. And if you're doing it on your own, maybe you'll be able to do it. But the point is that in CLAT, you are competing with 60,000 people for like those 300, 400, 500 seats. So unless you know what that competition looks like, you will not feel the pressure of that.
True, that's true. Okay, so we have all these things like crack clat in 3 months, the booster courses, and all of that. So do you think it's possible for someone to crack clat in a very less time? Say 1 month would be too far fetched, but 3 months or 6 months, do you think people can crack clat?
I think it's possible, but then you'll have to sort of compress your timeline a lot. And you have to understand that when you're trying to crack CLAT in 3 months, you're also competing with people who've taken a year off after school to give the same exam. and nobody is stupid. So when someone has a 12-month preparation, they are going to be way ahead of you if you just have a 3-month or a 2-month preparation. What you have to do is then you have to put in that 12 months of work into that 3 months. You have to make sure that you start, say, the first month by figuring out all your concepts. So what you do is you completely finish your syllabus. You know that I know everything. Then you start attempting mocks. And then those 2 months, when you're giving mocks, you have to. So like I had a month to maybe improve on my mock scores, but you have only a week to do the same thing, that same level of improvement. You have to keep pushing yourself. You have to give maybe 2-3 mocks within a day or something, and you have to push yourself a lot. So if you're getting into this, I will crack Clat in 3 months, know that for those 3 months your life will be nothing other than cracking Clat.
Yeah, makes sense. Totally makes sense. How do you handle the pressure, like during Clat, during the preparation stage, and during the time when you're actually writing the exam?
So during the preparation stage, I think the only way to handle the pressure is to know that you are working. So if you know that you're not working, you're not doing anything, then the pressure will get to you and you'll work even less, if that makes sense. So it'll be like, I have this much to do. Even if you do this a little bit every day, then you know you're making progress. But the minute you stop, that this much will just get bigger, and then you'll be closer to the day and you won't be able to handle it. So even if you have like 24 hours and you set a goal which you're not able to finish, at least start, do a little bit, know that you have to start from a little less the next day instead of taking the whole day off because I didn't finish this huge task that I set to myself. So that's one way you deal with the pressure during preparation. And also you have to see the improvement to feel like, I'm getting somewhere. So when you feel like you're not improving, go back to your teachers, go back to the concepts, see where you're falling behind and try to work on it harder, because once you start seeing the improvement, then you know that, yeah, I'm getting somewhere.
Yeah.
So that's how you do it during preparation. And on Clat day, be prepared, having done so many mocks that you just go to the exam and you feel like this is 2 to 4 p.m. and I'm just sitting and giving a mock. That is the best way to handle Clat pressure, because so many things could happen on the exam day. Like this didn't happen with Clat, but a number of people who gave IELTS in my year, they faced issues with their computer and everything. So it completely throws you off. But if you at least start like, okay, it's a mock, I have to just get done with this, and by that time you're also giving mocks competing with people. So when you're giving mocks, you're still feeling like I have to get a rank here. So when you're giving Clat, you just treat it like another day and another mock, and you have to get done with it.
Yeah, just go with that mindset of just, doing your best in a mock, but it's actually your Clat.
Exactly. Clat, yeah.
But like, so as you mentioned that computer issues and everything, I don't think Clat reimburses or helps you with extra time or something, right? There's nothing like that.
Yeah, I don't think so. So you should pray you don't get that. But you could probably write to something, but I don't know if anything is done about that.
If suppose you're giving your Clat exam, but your computer has these issues, and at that moment you just can't think of anything, but then you start panicking, right? Like, so what should a person do with that mindset, that level of stress at that point?
So I think the first thing they have to do, there will always be invigilators in the hall. You can call them. That's the first step. And I think you'll have to find a way to solve it in the exam hall, because I don't know what happens once you're done with the exam, because it's those 2 hours, that's all that you have. It's not like, usually I haven't heard of Clat glitching a lot, at least in my year, but at the same time I've also not heard of them dealing with those issues later.
Exactly.
So you have to be in that mindset where you are well placed with your paper, and you call the invigilator and get the problem fixed over there right then and there. It shouldn't happen. It's hopefully it won't happen with any of you, but even if it does, there'll be someone in the room to fix it.
All right. So the last question, which a lot of people actually contemplate on, should you take a gap year? Is a gap year worth taking after your class 12? just to prepare for Clat?
I think it's not a bad idea. Personally, I think it's a very personal decision also. Like, I was very not ready to take a gap year, because for us, CLAT wasn't just those 2 years of preparation, it was 2 years and another 9 months
Of course.
because of the COVID thing. So at that point, I was not ready to go and restart the process. Especially with GK, you have to actually restart the process because the news changes every day. So I wasn't ready to do it. And I had other options, but there are people who wouldn't have different options or who wouldn't have backups. In that, I would say, don't give up on law just because you didn't make it 1 year. It's a very hard exam, and it's a lot to be able to get through the whole process and crack it. So if you're ready to give it another shot, then you can take a gap year. And especially, or even if you decide that I don't want to give CLAT in class 12 because it's too much pressure for me, and I'll give it 1 year after class 12.
At
I
once.
think even that is okay if you're ready to do it.
So
In
like,
fact, if
yeah,
you want to do something, like if you want to just try it out for once, you can give CLAT even in your class 12 year without preparation, and then take a gap and give it again.
yeah, just to get the feel of what the exam will be like.
Yeah. See if you want to sit and prepare for it for another year.
Of course, that's there. So, like, I have this strong belief that just giving 1 year to a single exam, which can be so uncertain, with like just taking an example of COVID or you getting sick at the end of the year during the exam, I just don't feel that taking that level of risk would be worth it. So, like, even if you don't get into an NLU, if you get into a good private college, would you recommend like people taking a good private option college? And like, it obviously depends on person to person, but like, you being from an NLU, would you like ask people that no, you should work hard for NLU, or like a private college would also be worth it?
I think it depends what you do in college. So there could be people who would be really unhappy in an NLU, and there could be people who are doing really well in a private college. So while it's worth it to work for CLAT and to get through, at the same time, you don't put your life on hold just for one exam. I agree with that. So it's again very personal to you. If you're ready to put in that work for another year, then go for it. I will say, as AIR 6, that even I wasn't ready to put in that work for another year, and I would have taken a private college option if I didn't make it. So it's not like it'll be the end of everything if you don't get through CLAT.
Yeah, you can just start over, start being good from a different college as well, right? Like, NLU is not something that just gives you a base to be like you're the best student, you're the best law student, right?
Yeah, of course. I mean, you have good professors everywhere. You have infrastructure everywhere. You have the ability to excel at any point in your life. You don't have to make it in 1 year or never again.
All right.
It's not actually do or die.
Yeah, I agree with that. Okay, so those were my questions. Now my users have certain questions. I'm gonna ask you those questions. Um, quick questions. Do they provide a rough sheet during the paper?
Yeah,
All right.
yeah, they do.
Some coaching institutes that you would suggest that people could join?
So I had a private coaching, which is with the Dusan, Rajneesh sir.
Okay.
He takes classes all over India and everything, but he has a very small batch, so it gives you a lot of personal attention. Besides that, you have Career Launcher, you have Legal Edge, there are a number of coaching. So it depends. Again, it's a person to person, and it'll more or less give you the same experience, and it'll give you a general idea of. I would say that you should take the mock series from a number of coaching institutes, so that you have a number of mocks to attempt. So for that, you should maybe start with Career Launcher mocks and then have Legal Edge as well. So yeah, that's it.
So, like you mentioned that Rajneesh sir had a small batch. Did you have to give an exam to get into the batch, or was it like a normal, I want to join you, and he's like, okay?
um I don't complete. There was a small, it was like a series of tests, and then he would talk to you and see what kind of, what is your need and what kind of student you are and everything, and then he would take you.
All right, perfect, perfect. What is an average good mock score that you would suggest?
So towards the end, you should probably be getting something in the hundreds, but mock scores are very subjective depending on how difficult or easy the mock is. Because I've known of mocks where I've gotten a 60 and still gotten a good rank, and other mocks where I've got a 130 and still not got a good rank.
Yeah.
So it's very subjective. You will know when you're giving the mock how difficult it is, and accordingly, the scores will vary drastically. So on a moderate mock, I would say a 110 score is good.
Okay. So there's one user that says, I haven't started preparing for CLAT yet. I'm in my 12th standard. I know I'm late. Do you have any suggestions?
You could do that 3 month thing where you start 1 month, you finish your syllabus very seriously, and then 2 months you give mocks very seriously. Or you could choose to give CLAT a year later, with when you feel confident enough with your preparation.
Okay, so what should you focus on during the last days of the exam?
Brush up on whatever you, so there are a number of things while preparing which you think it's not getting into my head, I'll do it later, which later doesn't come. So that's something that you can keep for your last days. Like for me, it was a number of GK topics specifically which I was not ready to give time to for a huge chunk of my preparation, and finally did it in the last 5 days. So because the benefit with doing those at the end is that at least it stays in your head.
Yeah.
Because the reason you were putting it off was because it was not staying in your head. So there's that. And also GK is something that you can do in the last 5 days in terms of revision. Don't
Yeah.
start your GK prep in the last 5 days because
Of course. Okay. So hey, I'm also preparing for CLAT and I will be giving exam this year. Is 4 months enough to score a good mark?
you can do it, but
Yeah.
you have to be very serious while doing it.
How can you prepare at home without a coaching?
Take a lot of mock test series from different coaching. So those should be around, like, take one from LE, take one from CL, and then do that very rigorously. First, of course, buy some books and clear out your concepts. When you're confident with that, start with the mock series and keep analyzing your mocks. That is something that anyway the coaching is not going to teach you how to do. The way you solve mocks and the way you analyze them is completely on you.
How to get most correct answers?
Read questions attentively. The thing with this pattern of CLAT is you have to read everything and understand everything. And then one way that helps is to eliminate the answers which are completely unrealistic.
Yeah.
So then instead of 4 options, you have to choose between 2. And then it's luck and preparation.
Most important part of a preparation that most students miss, like you felt that you could have missed this part, but this is really important.
Mock analysis.
Mock analysis.
Because students think they give the mock and then they're like, I gave the mocks, I gave 10 mocks, I gave 20 mocks, I gave 40 mocks. It doesn't matter till you analyze it.
Yeah, of course. So was CLAT worth it for you? Was giving CLAT worth it?
Yeah. I mean, once you get that rank,
Yeah,
it's
of course.
worth it. But just the feeling in itself.
Is taking a second gap year worth it?
Again, I think it's very subjective.
Yeah.
If you feel ready to give a second gap year, well, most of our friends will be graduating in another year and you will have another long 5-year course to look forward. And there is no guarantee when you're giving CLAT. So if you're ready to put that hard work in, if you don't want to let those 2 years that you've already given to it go away without a result, then yes, you can take a second gap year, but it's completely upon you.
So there's this person who's asking, do we only get MCQ or tick questions? Like, we don't have to write anything on the paper, right? We just get MCQ.
No. Yeah, it's just MCQ.
Okay, so how can we prepare for quantitative technique questions? I think
Maths,
right?
Yeah, that's maths.
Yeah.
So you get cleared with the concepts, and then now Clat has a lot of graphs and statistic based questions. So the best way to do those is to practice a lot. And once you know the concepts, seeing the numbers in words and seeing it in a graph isn't very different. So that's how you solve it. You just know the concepts and you get it done.
Okay, so the last two questions, these are like the most asked questions. I'm not a regular news reader. How do I prepare for GK?
You start reading the news regularly. That's the first thing you do.
But like for
It's
someone who just
people think that,
can't.
yeah, so people think that news reading is a hard way to prepare for GK. It's actually the most easy and it's the most effective way to prepare for GK. So actually being a regular news reader gives you an edge without putting in effort. This is something that I've been doing since I was in class 6, even without knowing I had to give Clat. And so when I was preparing for Clat, that part of it was completely sorted. I enjoy reading the news. I don't have to do anything about that. Of course, the note taking and the lists, making lists of news, that is important. I think GK was my least favorite subject. But at least I knew how to read the news. That was the easier part.
Okay, so I've already asked you this, but if we start preparing 3 months before CLAT, can we crack it? And if we can crack it, then what tips would you suggest to crack it?
So stay super focused, finish the concepts within a month. Like, be very strict with your deadlines. You have just 3 months, people have been preparing for years.
Yeah.
So be very strict with your deadlines. 1 month you finish your concepts, the next month you start giving mocks. Within that next month, you know how much improvement you are making. You keep improving it with your mocks. And in the last month, you should feel as if you're as competitive as the next person.
Of course. Of course. So those were the questions. I hope this helps all of the people who are preparing for CLAT, who will be preparing for CLAT, and they get a better knowledge about how to prepare. Thank you so much for joining us. And it's been a great session. And congratulations for AIR 6. It's a huge, huge, huge deal. And yes, thank you so much. Loved having you.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you.